Okay, picture this. You've got this amazing idea, maybe, I don't know, finally learning that skill, or launching that side project you've been dreaming about.
Yeah.
You're buzzing, right? Totally motivated. You jump in, start working, and then bam,
Mm.
this feeling just hits you.
Mm.
Tiredness, frustration, because it's way harder than you thought. That little voice saying, you're not good enough. Maybe even like guilt or shame, which is weird because you were just excited.
Right, yeah.
You thought it'd be great, but now you kind of just want to bail. What is that about? So this deep dive, it's all about that specific moment, that really confusing phase when you go from being the dreamer to actually being the doer.
That transition, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially with something new.
exactly. And we've got some really interesting stuff to look at here. We're drawing on psychology, even some neuroscience, plus a pretty practical guide on coping with that discouragement. Our goal today is basically to unpack why this happens, show you it's actually, believe it or not, pretty normal, maybe even a sign of growth, and then give you real actionable steps from this material to, push through it. Okay. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that feeling you described, that slump after the initial excitement, it is so real. And honestly, pretty much universal when you step outside your comfort zone.
Uh-huh.
Moving from just like thinking about the idea to actually doing it, especially if it's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Well, it almost inevitably triggers those feelings, fatigue, feeling inadequate, discouraged. Sometimes, yeah, that guilt or shame.
Right.
But, and this is key, it absolutely does not mean the idea is wrong or you took a bad path. It just means you're actually, doing the work.
Okay, so validating it is step one. That's huge. But
Yeah.
why? Why do these feelings happen? It feels like our own brains are working against us just when we're trying to do something good.
That's a great question. And the sources we're looking at point to some core psychological reasons.
Mm.
A really big one is something called cognitive dissonance.
Right.
So think about what you believed before you started. Maybe it was, hey, I'm pretty creative, or this should be fairly straightforward, or just, I'm going to be good at this.
Yeah, the optimistic phase.
Exactly. That belief is part of how you see yourself, your ego.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start doing it and, well, reality bites.
Uh-oh.
You hit problems, it's harder than you thought, you make mistakes, you feel kind of clumsy. That's the conflicting reality. I'm stuck, this is tough, I'm messing up.
Right. Belief meets messy reality.
Precisely. And that clash, that inconsistency, it creates real psychological discomfort. It just feels bad.
Yeah.
And our brains, they hate that feeling. They're wired to resolve discomfort, usually by taking the easiest path.
This is.
Often it's easier to change your belief or perception than the difficult reality. So the brain concludes, this idea isn't actually that good, or, maybe I'm just not cut out for this.
So you quit to make the bad feeling stop.
Basically, yeah. It protects the original self-image, that ego, by letting you retreat back to where things felt consistent and comfortable. It's a defense mechanism.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Another big factor the material highlights is ego depletion. It's this idea that conscious mental effort, like making decisions, using self-control, learning new stuff, draws on a limited energy reserve.
Like a mental battery.
Exactly like a mental battery.
Mm.
And when you start something new, you're constantly using that battery, deciding the next step, forcing yourself to focus, resisting distractions, figuring things out.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is exhausting.
Ugh.
That constant mental load drains the battery fast, so you feel genuinely depleted. Not just emotionally, but that deep mental fatigue, sometimes even physical tiredness.
Okay. Dissonance, depletion, anything else?
Yep, the simple, unavoidable learning curve. Anything truly new is hard at first. You don't have the skills, the experience, the intuition yet.
So mistakes are basically guaranteed.
Absolutely inevitable. And those early struggles, feeling awkward, make those mistakes that directly leads to feeling not good enough.
Which feels like proof you should stop.
Exactly. But the material stresses. That's just what being a beginner feels like. The trap is taking that feeling as a final verdict instead of just, a song you're learning.
Gotcha. And I guess there's fear involved too.
Definitely. Fear of failure and evaluation. Taking action means you could fail. You're putting yourself out there, open to judgment, even if it's just your own. That triggers insecurity, makes you want to run back to safety.
Wow. Okay, so that's the psychology. But you mentioned neuroscience. This is where it gets really interesting for me. What's actually happening inside our brains?
Right. It's not just abstract concepts. There are specific things firing off in there. A key player is the prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
The brain's CEO, right?
That's a great way to put it. It handles the complex stuff. Planning, decisions, self-control, problem solving. When you're tackling something new, forcing focus, making all those little choices, your PFC is working incredibly hard, major overtime. And just like a muscle, it uses energy, glucose, oxygen. When it works that hard, it gets fatigued.
Yeah.
Literally. That feeling of being drained, can't think straight. That's often your PFC running low on fuel.
Mental fatigue is real. Okay, what else is lighting up?
Then you got the amygdala. Think of it as the brain's threat detector.
Uh-huh.
When your self-image, your ego, feels threatened, like when you make a mistake that feels embarrassing, or that gap between expectation and reality feels huge, the amygdala can register that as a kind of threat.
Even if it's just an internal feeling.
Yep. And that activation, that's where a lot of those uncomfortable emotions come from. Anxiety, fear, that deep unease. It's also linked to feelings of guilt or shame. It's the brain reacting to a perceived danger to your sense of self.
Wow. Okay. PFC, amygdala.
And another crucial one, the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC. This part is like your brain's conflict monitor or error detector.
So it notices when things don't add up.
Exactly. When your beliefs clash with reality, that cognitive dissonance we talked about, or when you make a mistake, the ACC fires up. It sends out this warning, inconsistency signal.
Signal feels.
Unpleasant. It's strongly linked to psychological pain, that feeling that something is just wrong. And that feeling generates a really strong urge to stop whatever's causing the signal.
So that's the urge to quit, partly. The ACC yelling, make it stop.
That could be a big part of it, yeah. Just wanting the discomfort signal to cease.
And you mentioned brain chemicals, too.
Briefly, yes. Shifts in neurotransmitters play a role. Dopamine, the reward chemical, might be unpredictable early on if you're not getting quick wins, which hits motivation.
Makes sense.
Serotonin, linked to mood, can fluctuate, maybe making you feel a bit down. And cortisol, the stress hormone, definitely increases with new challenges and uncertainty, adding to the fatigue and anxiety cocktail.
Okay, this neuro perspective is actually kind of comforting.
It can be,
Yeah.
right? Because the crucial takeaway here is that these brain activities, these difficult feelings, they aren't a judgment. They're not your brain saying, you suck at this.
They're signals.
Exactly. They are signals from a brain that is working incredibly hard. It's adapting, it's learning, it's building new pathways under stress. Your brain isn't failing. It's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to do when pushed. It's growing.
Okay, that reframe is powerful. Understanding why isn't just academic, it changes how you see the feeling itself.
Yeah.
So knowing all this, when you're actually in it, feeling that discouragement, that depletion, what do? How do you cope and keep moving? The sources give us steps, right?
They do. A very practical, step-by-step approach. And the absolute foundation, step one, is awareness and understanding. You got to become like a detective of your own feelings.
Yeah. Oh, how?
First, just notice the feeling without judgment. Like, okay, feeling overwhelmed right now, or, hello, inadequacy, my old friend. Just name it.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah. Second, connect it to what just happened. What was I doing right before this hit? Usually it's tied to a specific challenge or mistake.
Find the trigger.
Exactly. Third, if it feels like that dissonance thing, try to pinpoint the clash. What belief is bumping up against reality here? Like, I thought I'd grasp this quickly, but I'm really struggling.
Yeah.
Fourth, and this is so important, normalize it. Tell yourself out loud if you need to, this is normal. This is a feeling of learning. Everyone goes through this. It stops feeling like a personal failing.
It's a feature, not a bug, of learning.
Perfect way to put it. And fifth, remind yourself of the mechanism we just talked about.
Yeah.
This urge to quit. That's maybe my ACC. This fatigue. My PFC worked hard. Anxiety. Amygdala kicking in. Understanding why biologically can took the sting out of it. It's just your brain doing its job, adapting.
That reframing seems key. Okay, so awareness first. What's next?
Step two is managing cognitive dissonance actively. Since that clash feels bad, find constructive ways to reduce it. Well, one way is to change your behavior. If you believe, say, consistent effort is key, but you're procrastinating, that causes dissonance. The fix: commit to a small, consistent action, maybe just 15, 20 minutes. Your actions start matching your belief.
Aligning belief and action. Got it.
Another way is to adjust unhelpful beliefs. If you're beating yourself up because you think, I must be perfect immediately, or making mistakes is terrible, those beliefs are going to hurt.
Yeah, those are tough ones.
So you challenge them, reframe. Mistakes are how I learn, or it's totally okay to be a beginner. Change the belief to fit the reality of learning.
Makes sense.
You can also add new information or adjust importance. Maybe learn how experts handle the exact problem you're facing, or remind yourself you've only been at it a short time. Or just consciously decide, okay, this one setback feels huge right now, but it's just one step on a long path. Give it less weight.
Okay, cool. And what about that battery draining, the ego depletion?
Right. Step 3 is crucial. Manage depletion and replenish energy. You can't run on fumes.
So practical stuff.
Very practical. Number 1, rest. Seriously.
Yeah.
Good quality sleep is non-negotiable for brain recovery. Your PFC needs it.
Sleep. Yes.
Also, look after your physical health. Decent food, maybe some light exercise. It boosts overall energy, which supports mental stamina.
Body affects mind.
Absolutely. Also, engage in truly relaxing activities. Things you enjoy that don't take much mental effort. Music, nature, hobbies, whatever. Let your brain chill out.
Give the PFC a break.
Exactly. And use micro breaks. When you feel stuck or fried, just step away for 5 or 10 minutes, walk around, stretch, look out the window. It helps reset things.
Little resets. Good idea.
And finally, try to conserve energy when you know you're low. Avoid making big, heavy decisions when you're mentally drained. Your judgment and self-control aren't at their peak.
Don't decide to quit when you're exhausted.
Definitely not. Okay, step 4 moves inside to your mindset. Build a growth mindset and practice self-compassion.
This sounds important.
It really is. It starts with accepting imperfection. Remind yourself, you are supposed to struggle a bit when learning. It's okay not to be amazing instantly. Let go of that pressure.
Be okay with being a beginner.
Totally. And then practice self-compassion. This is huge. When you mess up or feel inadequate, talk to yourself like you talk to a good friend who is struggling.
Instead of beating yourself up.
Exactly. Encourage yourself. Acknowledge it's hard. Be kind. It makes a massive difference.
I can see that.
Also, focus on the process, not just the outcome. Instead of obsessing over the giant end goal, set small, achievable learning goals for today or this week. Figure out this one thing. Practice for 30 minutes. Makes progress feel real.
Little steps.
Yeah. And celebrate small wins. Did you fix that bug? Did you understand that concept? Acknowledge it. Pat yourself on the back. It gives you a little dopamine hits and builds momentum.
Don't wait for the finish line.
Right. And when failures do happen, review the lessons with curiosity. Okay, what did I learn? What can I try differently? Treat it like data, not disaster.
Learn from it. Don't wallow in it.
Okay.
One more step.
Last one, step 5. Seek support. Don't try to muscle through this alone.
Yeah, community.
It helps so much. Talk to trusted people, friends, family, a mentor. Just sharing how you feel can be validating. They might offer useful perspectives.
Get it out of your own head.
Exactly. And find mentors or role models, people who've walked this path. They almost certainly felt the same way you do now. Hearing their stories or getting advice can be incredibly motivating.
Knowing you're not the only one.
For sure. And look, if these feelings are really intense, really persistent, and messing with your daily life, consider consulting professionals. A therapist or counselor can offer tailored tools for anxiety, self-doubt, whatever's making it extra hard.
Okay. Awareness, manage dissonance, replenish energy, build growth mindset and self-compassion, seek support. That's a lot.
It is. And applying it takes practice, Yeah. It's not an instant fix. It's more like learning a new skill itself, the skill of managing your mind and emotions as you grow. It's the ongoing work of becoming a stronger, maybe even happier doer.
So pulling this all together, what it really means is that feeling discouraged or exhausted or like you're not good enough when you're tackling something new, that's not actually proof you should stop.
Not at all. According to this material, it's more like feedback. Signals from your brain and body saying, hey, we're working hard here, we're learning, we're adapting, this is strenuous.
Right. Understanding the psychology, the dissonance, the depletion, and especially the neuroscience, like what the PFC, amygdala, and ACC are doing, it shifts everything.
It really does. It moves you from feeling personally flawed to understanding, this is just my system responding to a challenge. And that understanding opens the door to using these practical strategies we talked about.
Normalizing the feelings, changing unhelpful beliefs, managing your energy, being kind to yourself, celebrating the small stuff, reaching out.
Exactly. It's about working with your internal system instead of just being overwhelmed by it.
And remembering, like the sources say, this takes patience. It's a process. But it's the path through that tough spot towards actually doing the thing you set out to do.
Precisely. It's the path to becoming that more resilient, effective doer.
Which leads to a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? If hitting that wall, feeling that discouragement, is actually a biological sign that your brain is fully engaged in learning and adapting, how does that change how you'll view that feeling the next time it shows up?
That's the question to sit with, isn't it? How does knowing this change your response?
Something to think about. Keep diving deep into your own experiences, maybe try applying some of these ideas and just see what happens. We'll catch